had done with our kissing. Be noisy, leaves, as you flutter down still more flamboyantly, with more abandon. And raise the level of the gall of yesterday within the cup, by adding to it today's yearning. Attachment, craving, splendor of beauty. Let us scatter like smoke in this September soughing. Bury all of yourself, my dearest, in this autumnal rustling. Swoon, or go half insane. You shed your coverings in much the same fashion as this grove sheds its leaves, whenever you fall into my embraces in your dressing gown with its silken tassels. You are the blessing in a stride toward perdition, when living sickens more than sickness does itself. The root of beauty is audacity, and that is what draws us to each other. Fairy tales. Once upon a time in a faery realm, Aknight was urging his steed over a steppe of burdocks. He was most eager to take part in battle, yet he could see through the dust a forest looming ahead. Anagging foreboding gnawed at his doughty heart. Shun the water-hole tighten saddle-girth. But the knight, unheeding, put spurs to his steed and at full tilt rode up the wooded knoll. Then, from this burial mound, he rode into a dry river bed. Next, skirting a meadow, he crossed over a mountain. He veered into a hollow and, by a forest trail, came upon a spur, found a water hole. Deaf to any warning, unheeding his inner call, he led his steed down from a rise to drench him at the stream. By the stream a cave yawned, before the cave was a ford. Flaming brimstone seemed to light the cavern's mouth. From behind the crimson smoke that screened everything from sight, a far-off cry came echoing through the towering pines. The knight, startled, dashed off straight ahead, racing through the ravine in answer to this cry for help. And the knight beheld a dread dragon's head, and its scales and tail, and gripped his lance hard. Flaming at its maw, the dragon scattered light like seed. Its spine was wound in a triple coil around a maid. The great serpent's neck flicked like the tip of a whip over the white shoulders of his fair captive. For that country's custom gave up to this forest monster a beautiful young creature as its prey. The people of that region paid this tribute to save their wretched huts and hovels from the great worm's wrath. Its body bound her arms and was wound about her throat. It had accepted the sacrifice to torture as it willed. With his eyes turned up to heaven, the knight implored its aid, and ready to give battle aimed his lance at full tilt. Tightly closed eyelids. Towering heights. And clouds. Waters. Fords. And rivers. Years. And countless ages. The knight in dented helmet lies unhorsed in the battle. His faithful steed's hoofs trample the life out of the serpent. Steed and dragon carcass lie together on the sand. The knight lies there unconscious. The maid is in a swoon. The noontide vault of heaven is radiant and blue. Who is this maid? A princess. Bred to the land? Or to the purple born? Tears from excess of joy course down her cheeks in streams. Then her soul is overcome by sleep and oblivion. He feels he is recovering, then cannot stir a limb, so great his loss of blood, so much his strength is spent. Yet both their hearts are beating. By turns he and she strain to come to, only to sleep again. Tightly closed eyelids. Towering heights. And clouds. Waters. Fords. And rivers. Years. And countless ages. August. The sun, keeping its promise without deception, had penetrated early in the morning, tracing a saffron streak obliquely from the window curtains to the divan. The same sun splashed with sultry ochre the woods nearby, the hamlet's houses, my bed, my dampened pillow, and the what's angle near the bookshelf. I have recalled the very reason for the slight dampness of my pillow. I had dreamt that all of you were trailing through the woods, coming to see me off. There was a crowd of you, yet you were straggling. Suddenly someone recalled. According to the old style, it was the 6th of August, the Lord's Transfiguration. On this day, usually, a light without a flame issues from Mount Tabor, and autumn, refulgent as an oriflamme, draws all eyes by its many glories. And you traverse the stunted, beggared, denuded, quaking scrubwood of the alders and entered the cemetery coppice of flaring red and ornate as a ginger bunny. The sky was pompously playing neighbor to the unstirring tree tops, while the distance was clamorous with the exchange of long-drawn clarion calls of roosters. Death stood like a state surveyor within God's acre in this forest, scanning my lifeless face, as if in thought how best to dig my grave to proper measure. All of you heard. Not inwardly but with your sense of hearing. The calm voice of someone close beside you. That voice had been mine once, a fatidic voice. It sounded now, untouched by death's corruption. Farewell to transfiguration's azure and to the second coming's gold. Abate, with a last womanly caress, the bitterness to me of this predestined hour. Farewell to years of timelessness. Let us part now, you who threw your woman's gauntlet to an abyss of degradations. I am the arena of your ordeal. Farewell, broad sweep of outspread wings, farewell to willfulness of soaring, and to the image of the world through words made manifest, and to creativity, and to working wonders. Winter night it snowed and snowed, the whole world over, snow swept the world from end to end. A candle burned on the table. A candle burned. As during summer midges swarm to beat their wings against a flame, out in the yard the snowflakes swarm to beat against the window pane. The blizzard sculptured on the glass designs of arrows and of whirls. A candle burned on the table. A candle burned. Distorted shadows fell upon the lighted ceiling. Shadows of crossed arms, of crossed legs, of crossed destiny. 2 tiny shoes fell to the floor and thudded. A candle on a nightstand shed wax tears upon a dress. All things vanished within the snowy murk white, hoary. A candle burned on the table. A candle burned. A corner draught fluttered the flame and the white fever of temptation upswept its angel wings that cast acrosiform shadow. It snowed hard throughout the month of February, and almost constantly a candle burned on the table. A candle burned. Parting the man is staring across the threshold and cannot recognize his home. Her going had been like a flight. Havoc has left its traces everywhere. Chaos prevails in all the rooms. He cannot judge the devastation because his eyes are blurred with tears, because his head is pounding. Ever since morning his ears have been ringing. Is he awake or having a bad dream? And why do thoughts about the sea persist in coming to his mind? When one no longer sees the day because of hoarfrost on the panes, the hopelessness of grief redoubles its likeness to the sea's vast desert. He drew every trait to him even as the sea draws near it each of the many littorals throughout the stretch of its incoming tide. Even as reeds go down beneath the rough seas following a storm, so every line of her had gone to the bottom of his soul. In years of hardships, in the days of an unthinkable existence, she had been cast up from the depths by a high wave of destiny. Amid innumerable perils, avoiding every reef and shoal, the wave had borne her on and brought her close. And now, this flight of hers. Perhaps it had been forced upon her. This parting will consume them both and grief gnaw clean their bones. His eyes take in the whole scene. At the moment of her going she had upset the contents of every compartment in her dresser. He paces aimlessly until dark comes, keeps putting back inside a drawer the scattered scraps of cloth, the crumpled sample patterns. And having run into his hand a needle left in some unfinished sewing, he suddenly sees all of her. And falls to sobbing. Softly. Encounter the snow will bury roads, will cover the roofs deeply. If I step out to stretch my legs I will see you from the door. Alone, in a fall coat, no hat, and no snow boots. You are trying to be calm, nibbling your snow-wet lips. The distant trees and fences recede into the murk. You stand at the corner alone in the midst of the falling snow. Water runs down your scarf, inside your sleeves, your collar, and melted snow sparkles in dewdrops on your hair. And a flaxen strand of it lights up your face, your scarf, your bravely erect figure, that wretched coat of yours. Snow melts upon your lashes. Sadness is in your eyes. And all of you seems fashioned out of a single piece. It is as if your image were being etched forever with burin and strong acid upon my very heart. nor can your submissive features ever be burnished off. And so, what does it matter if the world is stony-hearted? And so, this night is doubling itself with all its murk and snow, and I cannot draw a line dividing you and me. For who are we, and where from, if after all these years gossip alone still lives on while we no longer live? Star of the nativity, it was winter time. The wind blew from the plain, and the infant was cold in the cave on the slope of a knoll. The breath of an ox served to warm him. The cattle were huddling within the cave. Warmth hovered in a mist over the manger. Up on a cliff shepherds shook from their sheepskins the straws from their pallets and stray grains of millet, and sleepily stared into the midnight distance. Far off were fields covered over with snow, and a graveyard, and gravestones, and fences, a cart with its shafts deep in a snowdrift, and, over the graveyard, a star-studded sky. And seemingly near yet unseen until then, its light more timorous than that of a tallow dip set in the window of some watchman's hut, Asta glimmered over the road to Bethlehem. No, it looked like a hayrick blazing off to one side from heaven and God. Like the reflection of an arsonist fire, like a farmstead in flames on a threshing floor burning. It reared in the sky like a fiery stack of straw, of hay, in the midst of a creation startled, astounded by this new star. An increasing redness that was like a portent was glowing above it. And 3 stargazers heeded, and haste to answer the call of these unwonted lights. Gift-laden camels plodded behind them, and caparisoned asses, each one smaller and smaller, were daintily, cautiously descending a hill. And all of the things that were to come after sprang up in the distance as a strange prevision. All the thoughts of the ages. All the dreams. All the worlds. All the future of galleries and of museums. All the pranks of goblins. All the works of the workers of miracles. All the Yule trees on earth, all the dreams of small children, all the warm glow of tremulous candles, all chains, all the magnificence of brightly hued tinsel. Ever more cruel, more raging, the wind blew from the plain. All rosy-cheeked apples, all the blown glass gold globes. Part of the pond was screened by alders, but, beyond rook nests among the tree tops, part could be seen clearly from the brink of the cliff. The shepherds could mark well the camels and asses threading their way at the edge of the mill dam. "Let us go with all others and worship the miracle," said they, and muffled their sheepskins about them. Plowing through snow made their bodies feel warm. Tracks of bare feet, glinting like mica, led over the bright plain and beyond the inn's hut, and the dogs sighting these tracks by the star's light growled at them as if at a candelen's flame. The frosty night was like a fairy tale, and some beings from the snow-crushed mountain ridge were mingling constantly, unseen, with all the others. The dogs were wavering, looking back in terror, and, in dire foreboding, cringed close to a young shepherd. Through the same countryside, over the same highway, some angels walked among the throng of mortals. Their incorporeality made them invisible, yet each step they took left the print of a foot. Day was breaking. The trunks of the cedars stood out. A horde of men milled by the stone at the cave's mouth. "Who are you?" Mary asked them. "We are from a shepherd tribe, and envoys of heaven. We have come to sing praises to both of you. You cannot all enter. Bide a while here." In the gloom before dawn, grey as cold ashes, the drovers and shepherds stamped to keep warm. Those come on foot bickered with those who came mounted. Near the hollowed out log that served as a water trough the camels bellowed, the grey asses kicked out.